All right, so we are joined by a very special guest, as we mentioned in last week's episode. He is originally from the United Kingdom. He is now residing in China. Mike and I would love to welcome Mad Dog Connor, the current AIWF European Champion. Mad Dog, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So you are currently the AIWF European Champion, and I want to get into that title run in a little bit with you. But before we get into what you're doing now, let's maybe go back a little bit. And can you tell us what some of your earliest memories are of wrestling?
Man, I could take you back to 20 years ago, maybe. Some of my earliest memories when I first started watching wrestling, WCW Nitro, right up until just over 2 years ago when I first started wrestling myself.
Was that your introduction to wrestling? Was it WCW before WWE?
Yeah.
Really? Was that like that for most guys in the UK?
You know what? We had the luxury of having both. You know,
okay.
In the US, well, as I say, in the States, let's say your side. Every Friday night you had WCW Nitro and you had WWE Raw or WWF Raw. So I'll never forget. I would record one on VHS. How glorious that was at that time. And then I would go to my friends. Yeah, I would go to my friends and watch WCW Nitro.
No kidding. It's the same thing. I was a VHS guy too. I used to be a massive Hardy Boy fan back in the day. So anytime they were on Raw, I was recording all their stuff.
Oh, I loved it all, man. Just as I say, having it all recorded.
I know. Half the people listening are probably going, "What the hell is a VHS?"
That's why I had to get it on there. Yeah.
So with WCW, who are some of the guys that caught your eye early on? Who made you be like, okay, like this is cool, like this guy's awesome?
Oh man, do you know what? What I loved about WCW Nitro was the cruiserweights. Absolutely, do you know what I mean? You had Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, Eddie Guerrero, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera, Dean Malenko. Oh my God, you know the names. Nice. You could just keep going. Like those names for now were the ones that stood out to me because it was usually cruiserweight matches and then just big guys.
I'm glad you mentioned Billy Kidman there too, because I feel like his name always gets lost in the shuffle when they talk about the legendary cruiserweight division.
Oh, come on, the Shooting Star Press. You couldn't forget
that. Absolutely.
What do you call it back then? The 7-year itch?
The 7-year itch, yeah. That's what it started with. So,
there you go.
So you're watching wrestling back in the day, and you know, you get a little bit older. So what made you decide to take the jump and start training?
Oh man, so where I lived, originally born in Ireland, where I lived there wasn't much of wrestling training. So I eventually moved then to England, and it was quite tough trying to adapt there. But eventually, when I got my feet under the table and felt a bit more comfortable in my teaching position, I heard that there was some wrestling training going on, and I thought, you know what, now's the best time to go.
Now, did you find yourself with a sense of like hometown pride at all, seeing guys like Finlay or Sheamus succeed in the business, or were they just other guys to you?
Oh, absolutely. You know, let me tell you something. When the Euros happened, obviously, football, the Euros 2016, there was a massive competition, and obviously it's football teams, but that competition was probably remembered for the Irish fans. The Irish fans got fans of that competition. You know, I think that you got the likes of like you're saying, Finlay, Sheamus, the guys just coming through. Us Irish, it doesn't matter. We will always support our own. Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You got Conor McGregor, who's done his thing. We supported him through and through. He's kind of gone down, of course, with some of his things that he's done. But you know, us Irish will always support each other.
It's the pride, right? When we're located in Toronto, Canada, and it's the same thing with us. Bret Hart's our guy, Chris Jericho. We have the Canadian pride as well, and you got to support your boys. Edge, exactly. Edge lives about 20 minutes down the road from our town. That's like his hometown. Yeah. So him and Christian especially got a soft spot for this area that we're living in.
Oh man.
So what was your?
Don't forget Kazarni.
Oh, Kazarni. If you had a cup of coffee, you might have missed them. So you make the plunge, you start training. How grueling was the training? Are they running you through the ringers? Who were some of your trainers?
So the first session was always like, meet and greets, blah, blah, blah. But for me at the time, the guy there at EBW, Elite British Wrestling, was Chris Lacken. Chris was a former catch wrestler. So he was your typical, in and out wrestling, Kurt Angle kind of type. He took my session, and ever since that, let me tell you something, it was like a form of ecstasy. I was just hooked. I absolutely loved it. I have a background in martial arts, so obviously you do your break falls, you do everything that's safe, and then you throw in a few moves, so show us what you got, and I absolutely loved it.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So how long did you train for before you got to get in the ring for the first time in front of an audience?
I was quite lucky. I'm I wouldn't really say like a fast learner because, well, I don't have any A-star grades or anything like that. But if it's a sport and it's competitive, then, as yourself, like anybody who's competitive, they want to be the best. So it took around, I think it was 2 to 3 months. I was quite lucky because at the time in my job, I was able to never miss a session. I always loved training and exercising. So for me, 2 months. And it was just like your typical, let's say, battle royal, right? Everybody get in the ring. You get your couple of seconds in there. You get a feel for the crowd. You get a feel for your entrance. You just get a feel for who you might be in that atmosphere in the ring.
And then so from there, so you're in the battle royal, you're getting your first feel. What are some of your memories from your first actual singles match? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Do you have any memories of who did you work? How did the match go? Were you happy with everything?
Absolutely. My first singles match was for the EBW heavyweight title. That was 4 months. Yeah, so I had a world title shot 4 months into my training. The reason for that was
deal,
yeah, man, I was really lucky. And so with it being a title shot, yeah, I was pretty nervous. But I'm not too sure if I was 90% excited, 10% scared, or 90% scared, 10% excited. But one thing I knew I wanted to not do was mess anything up.
Now, obviously, I'm very curious to get into your time in China. But before we get there, when you're still in the UK, my question is, with the rise of the popularity of wrestling in the UK in the last 5, 6, 7 years with ICW over in Scotland, did you see a difference, like maybe a shift in wrestling fans in the UK in the last decade? And does ICW have anything to do with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got like Southside Wrestling as well. There was a massive shift. Like as I say, in 10 years, like when I left Ireland and I came over to England, it was like, wow, all these new people who are interested in wrestling. I was like, it just opened my eyes. Like you're saying there with Scotland, England, Wales, you got some of the best guys. Like 5-star wrestling when that was around. It massively shifted because, okay, the UK is not as big as most places, but let me tell you something. When we've got a love for something, oh my God, yeah, we're so passionate about it.
Well, I can tell that right away. I am a big fan of ICW, and just one of the things that makes me a fan of ICW is the fans. The crowd is so different than what you see on the Americanized
Yeah,
wrestling. There's so much more into it.
yeah.
I love watching ICW or even NXT UK for that reason.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's because, well, we're mostly our sport here. Our sport back home would have been football. Now, in football, like most sports, we enjoy winding the other person up. You know, like we'll it's almost like a culture. If I'm not saying bad things about you to your face, then we're not friends. But if I'm saying nice things, yeah. But if I'm saying nice things, I'll take. My trust isn't quite there yet.
Or there's a reason too why everyone says that the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania is the best crowd of the year. It's made up of mostly the European fans, right?
Yeah,
It's very true.
And then you touched on ICW a little bit there, and Mike and I were talking before we got on the air with you, and we were both massive fans of Grado, his entrance. There's some big stars that came through there, between Drew McIntyre, Aleister Black is another one.
Prince Devitt.
Prince Devitt, absolutely. So with the rise of ICW, now we have NXT UK. I have to imagine that having a WWE brand in the United Kingdom is changing everything.
Oh man, do you know what? It came back in 2018. I'll never forget it. When I started in 2018, and then about 2 months after, I found out that I would be moving to China for a career, and then I was just so, I felt like as if I lost a really close relative, because I was like, why is everything getting bigger now in the UK, and I have to go?
Oh, that's frustrating.
Oh man, don't get me wrong. It's not because, well, I wouldn't really call myself like a professional wrestler compared to those guys, of course. But just they kind of have that goal. They have that little shred of hope. They think, I might get recognized here if I put a good shift on and work hard.
Absolutely. And then, so one of your home promotions in the UK was the AIWF, correct?
Yeah.
And you're the reigning European champion.
Oh, yeah.
So I was trying to do a little bit of research on the AIWF here, and to me it kind of seems like it's a little bit of an NWA territory throwback type of promotion.
Yeah.
They have their hands in a lot of different areas in the world. Can you kind of explain to the listeners what AIWF is all about?
So AIWF started out as the American Independent Wrestling Federations. So like you're saying about NWA, it branched out around America to obviously help the guys out there, promote. And then Matt Creed, who, in fact, Matt, cheers for hooking us up with this podcast.
Yeah, Matt Reed. Yeah, he was great. He was great to deal with. Thanks, Matt, for bringing Mad Dog to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And what eventually happened then was, like anyone who is hungry for success, he wanted to make things bigger. So, yeah, he branched out globally. And it was my first show that there was an AIWF European bout. And I was like, what's this AIWF? And they were like, oh, so that's when I found out about it then. And I thought, right, okay. And just even looking at the belt, it's completely different. And with the flags and all, I thought, that's not a bad looking belt.
It is a nice looking belt, and I will have pictures of that posted on our Facebook page.
Right.
AIWF is it's associated with Marty Jones now. Is that correct?
Yeah, Marty Jones is now the European ambassador. That was just announced, I think it was last month. So everything's going in the right direction.
So, Mike, for you, do you know a lot about Marty Jones?
No, so you had asked me that right before we came on the air here, and I had to laugh because I don't know who Marty Jones is. You'll have to explain to me. But a lot of anybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge fan of the band Counting Crows. They're my favorite band.
Yeah,
and Marty Jones is a bass player from a band called the Himalayans. And the song Mr. Jones is about a guy named Marty Jones. Oh. So that's the Marty Jones I know.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that the Marty Jones that we're talking about would stretch the shit out of all of the other guys that you're talking about there, Mike. Yeah. Marty Jones, I just want to give a quick little history on him because I want to talk about Marty a little bit with you, Mad Dog. He was trained by the legendary Billy Robinson.
Yeah.
So right away, there's credibility there. But Billy Robinson is a notorious tough guy in the industry. Marty had some classic feuds. His biggest one was probably with rollerball, easy for me to say, Mark Rocco. He also had a nice run with Finley as well. But Marty's been in the ring with some big guys. He wrestled for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he was in the ring with guys like Hogan, Inoki, Tiger Mask, Fujinami, and he teamed up with Andre the Giant a bunch of times. So Matt, my question to you is, do you have a lot of interaction with Marty? Is he telling you some cool older stories? Is he giving you advice? Is he trying to help you get to that next level?
You know what? I was at one of his shows in March, and I was supposed to get a formal introduction with him. Thanks to Krieg, thanks to Matt Ledger on that. Unfortunately, I had to rush off. I suffered a neck injury that day, and man, I didn't really feel up to it. And I knew that Marty would be very busy, and I might have to wait a while. And you know what? I should have held out. But on that, I have spoke to him a few times, and you know what? He's your genuine old school guy who's just nice. You know, you can ask him anything, and he'll be upfront and he'll be honest. I have asked him for advice, just for example, on how to carry a belt, and the biggest thing is responsibility and respect the belt, and it's the little things that you just know just clicks. And yeah, there's just so much more I want to learn from him and speak to him in person. Like, I've seen some of his videos where he's training some guys, and you know, he's doing his thing, and he's twisting these guys inside out just by like flicking his wrist.
Yeah, it's crazy the stuff that he probably learned from Billy Robinson. And for all of our listeners, I'm going to post some Marty Jones matches on our Facebook page for you guys to check out as well. Smooth as silk in the ring, Marty Jones is.
That's right. That is to say, I'd love to get to one of his sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you're in China. So you said you're over there for a career now. You're still working in China. What kind of promotions are you affiliated with now? You're still working in China, obviously, right?
Yeah. So my role at the moment here in China, what pays my bills, is basically just teaching English. I came over, I was teaching English, and I was coaching football. With my last company, new company, I'm just teaching English. And the great thing about that is that it's very flexible. It's from 8:30 till 11:30. And then I come back in at 3 to 4:30. So it's a nice long lunch.
Well, that works out good for you.
Oh man, it's so good. That's what gives me my freedom to do my social media, to do my training, and to build anything towards my wrestling.
So speaking of wrestling in China, then, so what's the biggest difference about being in front of a crowd, back home compared to now in this new territory in China, a whole new market for you?
Sorry, Taylor, I didn't answer your last question properly. I've worked for KOPW, the King of Professional Wrestling. Right now, we're doing some, let's say, house shows that, let's say, shouldn't be happening, but you know, obviously when they're said and done, we can talk about them. And then I'm waiting for MKW, Middle Kingdom Wrestling, to start back up. They're keeping themselves going with social media interaction and feeding the fans. And then I'm speaking to a guy about, when this pandemic ends, about going to OWE, Oriental Wrestling Entertainment. So, although I've not appeared for them yet, just to have discussions and just branch out is a hell of a lot more interesting.
Mike, is OWE, were they in Toronto this summer for SummerSlam? Is that the same promotion?
That is a different OWE.
Oh, okay. The name sounded familiar there.
You'd probably sound familiar because they've got a deal with AEW.
That's where it is. Yes.
Right.
So what's the biggest difference then, Mad Dog? Whether you're fighting in the UK, now you're over in China. How are you finding the competitors over there compared to the UK? How's the crowds over there? Are they treating you well?
So, big shout out to the fans. Fans are great. I've got like a little WeChat is what we use over here, which is the same as WhatsApp. I've got like a group of like fans that I speak to every day. I just ask them how they're doing, what they're doing with their day. Good morning. I'm doing this session. They're really dedicated and they're really approachable, no problem, and they're really supportive. But that's one of the great things that we can do here in China. The difference between the Chinese, well, let's say that the fans in China, they love the foreigners simply because it's something different. Now, MKW is pushing a lot for their homegrown talent, so for their Chinese wrestlers, which is, of course, that's what you want to do, push your homegrown, and the same as KOPW. But the Chinese fans like to make a big deal about the foreigners simply because, well, I think we've just got more of an art. We've got more of a, how can I say this? More of a creative display when it comes to it. Now, obviously, when I say it like that, it's just there's more access for us foreigners to get to see more wrestling. Some fans I've spoke to, when they talk about the way things were with the Attitude Era, I'm like, oh my god, this is my type of fan. And like most wrestling fans, you can't BS a wrestling fan.
Now, over in the West, we obviously know a lot about Japanese wrestling, and we know quite a bit about European wrestling, but we know very little to nothing about the Chinese wrestling scene. Do you know why that is? Why is Chinese wrestling not really out there for us?
Well, it's probably part of the reason how we got connected together. There's a certain program that has to be used. So I'm just going to call it, like I said, the very posh nutshell. We have to use that to get access to the to civilization, let's say, because you might think that some people live in a bubble, but sometimes here it can be a proper monitored bubble.
I see.
Yeah. So without going into too much detail, let's just say some things you've got to watch what you're saying.
Of course,
it's just like anything. But anyway, that's that.
So Mad Dog,
all right. Any more questions, Tom?
I got two more for you here, Mad Dog. So Mad Dog, you're 2 years in. Is there anybody that you kind of are patterning your style after right now? Is there any influences that you have that you kind of I like what he's doing and tweak it, make it your own a little bit? Any influences for you right now?
Let's see, where can we go? So right now, I'm using the Swanton Bomb from Jeff Hardy. I've seen a few Swanton Bomb. When I started using it, next thing you know, I see Kevin Owens use it. I'm seeing other people use it. And it's like, I was hoping to reinvent that. And it would be like, wow, where'd that come from? But anyway, it is what it is. But what I love about the way Jeff does it is his technique. And it's just like, it's like one of his other moves, poetry in motion. And just how
absolutely,
it's just the form of his technique and where you fall on someone. Well, that's the art in it, right?
For sure. So as the current AIWF European champion, let's just have a little bit of fun, maybe a little bit of fantasy booking. Is there anybody in any company in the world right now that you would love to get in the ring with? AEW, WWE, NXT, anybody that you see that you like, man, we could do something real special in the ring?
Right now, not even right now, but over the years, man, I just think that Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, my God, it's just since
I was kind of
man,
he's awesome. He's awesome.
It's just like everything he does. I've watched them. I've watched his programs just over the years. Just the atmosphere, everything that he brings to it. Now, fair enough, when he made the transition to Raw and he did what he did, fair play to him, bar the injury. and then for him to kind of come back to NXT. Some people seen it as like a step back, but come on, let's remember the last Survivor Series, NXT kicked ass.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So, but
Yeah,
oh
right.
my God, Finn Balor, just everything he does, just it's just a great storytelling.
I can't agree with you more, man. I named my son Finn. It's a good thing my wife doesn't watch wrestling. She'd kill me if she
That's
knew
right.
that.
So Mad Dog, thanks for chatting with us, man. Our show is called Count It Out, so we do a weekly countdown every week. You feel like sticking around, and we're gonna count down the top 7 Triple H moments. You sound like you're a fan of the game. There, you want to stick around and have a chat with us about Triple H?
Oh man, the Cerebral Assassin, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Yep.
Perfect. Well, before we get into Triple H, give us some of your social media plugs. Let the people know where they can get a hold of Mad Dog, where they can see you on see some of your matches, Instagram, Twitter, any of that stuff, Facebook. Let them know an email if anyone wants to book Mad Dog and get them over here. If you ever get your way to Toronto, man, we got pints waiting for you, buddy.
Yeah. Do you know what? But before I do that, I hear there's a massive like Irish Canadian connection.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have lots of great Irish pubs down here.
I'm actually part of it. I'm only second generation Canadian here. Everybody from my grandfather up is from Dublin. So yeah, there's a lot of us over
here. See any Canadians I've met? Oh my God, like we get on really well, like a house on fire. It's just, yeah, the crack and the banter is just amazing.
Well, and we have the Canadians and the Irish have something great in common, as we all know how to put back a pint.
That's it. So yeah. Oh well. Do you know what, fellas? We've definitely got to have that sorted. You said it now, so we'll definitely have to get a book done.
Absolutely. Anytime you get down here, we'll take care of you, Mad Dog. Let the people know where they can reach out to you. We're going to talk about Triple H with you as well, so don't go anywhere. But yeah, let's get some shout outs. We want to give Mad Dog some love.
So my Facebook is Mad Dog O'Doherty, which is DOCHERTY, and my Instagram is conmen876. That's CONMEN 876, all lowercase. Yeah, that's it for now. You know what? Since I've won this AIWF European Championship, my social media, everything has blown up. So I've just got to keep pushing. I've got to get YouTube, got to use my Twitter more. So yeah, massive thank you for that, guys.
And we're definitely going to help you out. I saw you cut a great promo. Some people are coming after your belt. You posted on your Facebook the other day. I'm going to post that on our Facebook group. And I tell you, man, the way I see you swinging that hammer, I'm not coming after your belt. I'll tell you that much.
That's right, hey? That's right. Oh, I just make it look good. That's all.
That's all that matters. That's
Absolutely.
all that matters,
yeah.
Right? And for our listeners, as you're listening to this, by the time this airs, I will have posted some of your matches on our Facebook as well. We want to try to get people familiar with you in our area, Mad Dog. You're a great guy to chat with, and I'm real excited to talk about Triple H.
That's right, Tyler. That's right, Mike. Thanks very much, guys.